From Creamer Media in Johannesburg, this is the Real Economy Report. Transport company Uber launched its Uber Go electric offering for South Africa at an event in Johannesburg last month, and also used the occasion to highlight its recently established Uber Moto offering. Tasneem Bulbulia tells us more.
The two offerings are part of the company's low-cost mobility journey. Uber Sub-Saharan Africa GM Dipesh Thomas elaborates.
Today we're actually celebrating the launch of Uber Electric, as well as talking about our low-cost initiative like Uber Moto. Both of these products talk towards that narrative of creating low-cost, affordable solutions that allow more and more people to participate on our platform. The Moto product is simple. It's a ride on the back of a motorbike. So again, this is a common service across Africa and in other markets as well. But in South Africa, this never existed. So the way it works is once you download an Uber app, Moto will be the lowest cost product on that platform. So if you want to ride, request a short trip, a Moto driver that's been trained and vetted will come through to where you are. You will hop onto the back of that motorbike, hold on either to the driver or to the back, and he will take you to your destination. Again, Moto is meant to be short distance travel, so we don't allow motos on highways where there's high traffic but also high speeds. Uber Go Electric works similar, so it's the next lowest cost product on our platform at the moment. It's fully electric, as I mentioned, and right now we're starting again in a very, very small geography in Sandton and Rosebank. And again, the plan is to test out, one, the charging infrastructure, two, how long the vehicle can stay charged, how many trips we do, the demand, and over time we'll start scaling that out as well. So we've got two partners, as I mentioned today. The Moto, we've got one out of a couple of fleet partners is Africa Mover, and they're an aggregator of taxi associations. So essentially they provide the bikes and the drivers, and they plug into the Uber platform. Secondly is Alternative. They provide so we've already got a partnership with them on the electric courier delivery side, and now they've created a category with these four-wheel vehicles. So these are our two main partners at the moment. We've got other partners on the motor side as well. I think the mission for Uber is simple. Right now we serve about 10 to 15% of the population. Many people can't afford to take an Uber ride. Secondly, 30 to 40% of the people in this country end up walking 2 to 3 kilometers, either to a taxi rank, from a taxi rank to their work, from a taxi rank to their employment. And our mission is simple. How do we play a role in alleviating their transportation poverty and creating some form of last mile fulfillment for people that end up having to walk? So the way we do that is through low cost. So one is Moto, it's the lowest cost product we have currently. And the second one is Uber Go Electric. For those people who are a little bit apprehensive on whether or not to take a motorbike and still want to have a four-wheel kind of service. But again, you'll notice these vehicles are much smaller than a typical hatchback. So again, the unit economics makes a lot more sense. The vehicles are lower cost. The use case is again last mile. So we anticipate a lot of people using it for 2 or 3 kilometers. We don't allow them on the highways currently, and that's the way we want to play a role in bringing down barriers of costs and allowing people to kind of like take more and more of these products on our platform. Today marks an important step for us in terms of fighting transportation poverty. I mentioned it earlier, 30 to 40% of the people in this country have to end up walking. We serve as Uber and as e-hailing maybe 10 to 15% of the population. There's no formalized public infrastructure that serves those people that have to end up walking. Today we're on a mission with our partners to start alleviating transportation poverty. And I call on other partners, I call on governments to help us move forward in this journey. It's one that can not just alleviate transportation poverty, but also create thousands of jobs for drivers, both on these mini vehicles, but also on our Uber Moto fleet.
Thomas provides insight into the company's electric vehicle journey and the relevance of these.
I think the typical mindset people have of an electric vehicle that come to mind is a Tesla, which is north of R1 million, unavailable in South Africa. BYDs that can cost 400, 500,000 Rand. These are vehicles from China that are sourced through our fleet partner, Alternative. So the vehicles are branded Alternative. It's made in China through a specialized OEM that they've contracted to, and they form part of the Uber ecosystem on our platform now as well. Again, these vehicles are in existence in China and other markets in the tens of thousands, so they've been proven and tested. And for us now, it's just about rolling this out, making sure there's sufficient charging infrastructure going forward. We've seen a lot of movement towards electrification, especially in the mobility sector. We've seen it globally, where it makes a lot more sense because electric vehicle costs about 30 to 40% cheaper than a fuel vehicle with sufficient scale. So we're seeing a lot of investment into the category. We've seen BYD, for example, wanting to invest into South Africa specifically to ensure there's sufficient charging infrastructure. the benefit of these vehicles is that they're interoperable. So it's not designated specific charging infrastructure for them alone. They can use existing services that other partners have put into place. So we're quite bullish about this. We see more and more adoption in the commercial space, in the e-hailing space, but also on the retail side. And we're on this journey to ensure that we form part of that scale. So I am very confident that we'll be able to scale this out as the charging infrastructure and the costs of charging come down over time. And we've seen grid improvements in South Africa. We've seen more diversification in the grid. So I think we're in the early stages of more widespread rollout of this category in South Africa. This EV journey started many years ago. So as I mentioned, pre this point today where we've got charging infrastructure, we've got lower unit economics for charging versus fuel. We started the journey in Kenya, we started the journey in South Africa where charging infrastructure was not widely available. So on our two-wheel product, we've actually got swappable batteries. So what happens is people don't have to go and charge their bikes. They can go to a locker that's got, let's say, 20 charged batteries. They'd go in there, they'd open the locker, take the battery out of their bike, put a new battery in and swap it out, which takes about 30 seconds to a minute. And that was the way we kind of localized the inability to charge, the lack of infrastructure, the high costs, etc. And now that the market has begun investing into it and we're seeing widespread adoption of infrastructure, we started off the four-wheel journey about a year and a half ago. And obviously, we needed to find the type of vehicle, we needed to have discussions with our fleet partners, and it's taken us some time and we finally launched this year. So the journey has been quite an extensive one, but the electrification started way before the four-wheel electrification journey. So Uber's got a goal of being 100% electric by 2040 as a global platform. South Africa and Sub-Saharan Africa are not excluded from that. And this is forming part of our journey to electrify the entire fleet going forward. So our targets are the same as the global ones. Of course, like I mentioned, we have to have local nuances and the way we get to that. So we started off on the two-wheel side. We've got 100% electric fleet in the courier business with swappable technology. Now we're moving into the four-wheel space and the microcars. And I have no doubt in the next couple of months to years, we'll be seeing more and more of our fleet, whether it's hatchback, sedans, or premium vehicles being electric in nature.
Thomas provides insight into the Uber Moto journey.
So the process actually started about more than a year ago, and there was a lot of policy engagements with taxi associations, engagement with the Joburg city to ensure that the vehicle itself was eligible, allowed on the road, with the taxi associations to make them understand that this is a complementary product and not a competitive product. And once all that groundwork was laid, we launched the product in mid-January this year. Again, we started off in a very small area in Johannesburg, and now we are across 20 different suburbs and geographies in Johannesburg, with more than 300 odd motorbikes on the platform. Africa Move is here as part of the launch. Essentially, they are a fleet partner to Moto. So they source the bikes, they own the bikes, and they procure the drivers as well. So for them, this is a new kind of transportation over and above the existing taxi business to provide transportation for motorbike riders in this country. So like any fleet partner, they're onboarded onto our platform. They provide the vehicles, they provide the drivers, we provide the demand gen, and of course community guidelines in terms of how to operate on the platform, both as a fleet as well as a driver, in terms of safety, in terms of professionalism, and all the other benefits we give a fleet partner as well come through this relationship.
Thomas also touches on expansion plans for Uber Moto.
I don't think it's fixed, so it all depends on demand. So we always follow where the demand goes, and of course being able to have enough motorbikes on the platform to make sure that we've got a reliable supply. Our first prize is obviously to make sure that it's accessible across Johannesburg. So we've only recently expanded into 20. Before that it was far less. We need to make sure it scales. We've got enough supply. There's enough demand from a rider perspective, and then Johannesburg is our first prize. Of course, there's opportunities in other cities like Durban and Cape Town and smaller cities outside of Johannesburg as well. Those timelines are not decided at the moment, so it all depends on how the platform performs and how the demand comes through.
Thomas explains how Uber ensures safety and quality.
Look, first and foremost, every single driver of ours goes through a vetting process. So firstly, you need to make sure that the person doesn't have a criminal record, doesn't have any negative track record in their background, so they'll go through a full vetting process. 2, they need to have a professional driver's license, a PRDP. In the form of Moto, again, it's a category we're creating in South Africa. Not many people have the training or experience of transporting a passenger in the back. So there's a level of training, there's a formal licensing process they have to go through. And once they're on board onto the platform, we've made sure that they can actually transport someone safely on the back of a bike. Secondly, wearing a helmet is non-negotiable. So there's checks on the app that make sure that both the driver and the rider wear a helmet. We've also provided hair nets for both our riders and passengers so that every single rider has a new hairnet from a hygiene perspective. Thirdly, our drivers have full PPE. So they've got like protective jackets and shin guards to make sure that if anything happens to them, they're safe. But again, safety is the driver, the vehicle, plus the equipment that we provide.
That's Creamer Media's Real Economy Report. Join us again next year for more news and insights into South Africa's real economy. And don't forget to listen to the audio version of our Engineering News daily email newsletter.